If you find yourself getting repeatedly junk punched by the imposter syndrome, well, buckle up, Buttercup, because in this video, I'm going to teach you how to tackle, how to tame, how to wrestle that imposter syndrome into submission. Actually, it doesn't quite work like that. However, I'm going to give you the clarity, understanding, and the tools to be able to rock with your imposter syndrome so that even if it doesn't go away fully, you can still create that big vision for your life that is sparkle-tastic, that's amazing, without holding yourself back. I'm Goodrich. I'm a creative strategist and content creator, and my favorite thing is synthesizing tools and information so we can all show up with our full magnetic energy and make sure that a lot of these internal stories aren't getting in the way from us expressing whatever that amazingness is that we bring to the table. I have a podcast, a TikTok, and I make lots of videos here on YouTube all about how to show up authentically, how to own your magnetic energy, how to rock with your neurodivergence, and how to build a business and a lifestyle that makes you really excited to wake up in the morning. So if that sounds like that's your jam, make sure you subscribe and hit all notifications so that YouTube is not the boss of you. We gotta start with some backstory. The imposter phenomenon was identified in the 70s by two clinical psychologists and researchers, two badass babes, Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes. What they realized in teaching is a lot of these students felt like they were the ones that were the mistake in the admissions process, having this crippling fear of somebody pulling back the curtain and say, get out, pack your bags, you don't belong. Now, we don't know exactly for sure, but it's somewhere between 70% to 90% of people deal with imposter feelings. And it's very much context dependent, but for some of us, because of the beautiful complexity of our identity matrix, we experience it more than other people. One thing we have to get clear straight out of the gate is that imposter feelings have nothing to do with your actual success or what you're capable of. Albert Einstein, later in his life, said this about imposter syndrome: I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler. And Maya Angelou, who is known and respected as one of the best writers to have ever existed in the world, even after writing 11 books, she still felt that it was just a game she was running on everybody, and at any moment she would be found out. So however these feelings are manifesting for you, it's really important to start off, you know you're not alone. But it's also important to understand the 5 archetypes that tell us how imposter syndrome usually manifests. This comes from an amazing book by Valerie Young called The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women. So listen to these and see if anyone really resonates with you. Number 1 are the perfectionists. These are the people that have such ridiculously high standards for themselves that they are always failing to meet them. They end up burning themselves out trying to be the best, but always failing to meet their standards and telling themselves that other people have those standards. They end up never shipping, never finishing, never getting that thing out into the world because it's never good enough and they are never good enough. Second are the experts. These are people who can never quite press go because they feel like they need to know more information. They aren't quite ready. People are gonna laugh at them because they haven't achieved the mastery yet. Their imposter syndrome means that they're procrastinating on doing the thing because they will never ever feel ready enough. Then we have the natural genius. These are the people who are naturally good at some things, so they didn't really learn that grit muscle. And they end up thinking if they struggle at something or it's harder to acquire those skills, it means they are not good enough. What happens is their world starts to close in because they shy away from things that might be harder to pick up, and that leads to these really big imposter feelings and not showing up in their fullest capacity. The next are the soloists. They believe that they have to do everything themselves. If they ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. So what happens? They end up driving themselves into the ground, trying to do everything, be everything to everyone, and they end up not achieving what they could. And of course, they end up feeling like a failure because nobody can do everything. Lastly, we have super people. These are the folks who feel like they have to outwork everyone, that is the way that they will succeed, by outworking, outplaying, hustle, grind. And of course, we all are human and have human needs like rest, so they end up getting burnt out and fizzling out and not being able to show up in the fullest capacity and not honoring things that might actually come easier to them. Let me know in the comments which one resonated with you particularly. I can tell you, for me, I'm actually a mix of all 5, but really what totally crippled me was the natural genius. There were a few things in life as a kid that I just really took to. And so I thought if I didn't really take to something, I was not good at it and I should just run away from it. A perfect example is I played tennis twice in my life and realized that I wasn't naturally good at it and literally haven't picked up a racket since. Now that we know how it shows up, it's really important to understand what it actually is. Now, this is gonna be new for you because I made it up, but this is a really powerful reframe in helping us understand what we are actually talking about when we talk about imposter syndrome. From here on in, we are not gonna use that term, and this is why. When you were a baby, you came into the world with full potential, full amazingness, confidence in who you were in the world. You can imagine your brain like a shiny new laptop. Like you buy it, you peel off the sticker, it smells good, it's delicious, it's exciting. There is nothing on it. It is pure potential and raw power. Then what happens is our society, our culture, our parents, people we interact with at school, all start downloading these programs onto our system. And depending on who you were, you got different programs. Particularly if you're a minority, an identity-rich human, inevitably you got some programs that told you you are not enough, you don't belong in certain places, there's a limit to your success and your capacity. And on a subconscious level, we take that in. Now, what's important to note is for the first few years of development, you can think of the brain as pure subconscious, like a movie screen that other people are projecting their stuff onto. We just absorb all of it. What happens is that that subconscious that is so powerful ends up guiding our beliefs about what we are capable of. When we're thinking about this imposter phenomenon, it's really no different than imposter software that somebody else installed in us. It's not factual, it's not accurate, and it's not true to the core of who we are. And it says nothing about what we are capable of. It's something that's there, but we don't have to own. So then the question becomes, can you delete that software? Can you minimize the impact on the rest of the system? Well, yes and no. Depending on who you are, you might be able to get rid of it completely in certain areas, but it'll probably still pop up in others. And for some of us, it's just something that will kind of always be running in the background. But what we can do is install different software that can counteract the effects and change it so we're not melting into it, but instead that we can still function and achieve and produce and have the impact we want despite the fact that it's still there. The other thing that's deeply important to understand about your imposter software is its relationship to your brain. Now, we're gonna get geeky and nerdy over here with a little bit of neuroscience. I promise if you hang in with me, I will take care of you, and at the end of this, you will have a powerful tool to help you rock with it in an amazing way. You have to understand your brain is hardwired to keep you safe. It will do anything to make sure that you live to see another day, which shows up in two main ways in relationship to your imposter software. The first is the spotlight effect. This is sort of a quirk of the brain that helps it survive by basically saying, I'm the one that's important. Everybody's gonna be thinking about me, judging me, worried about me. Now, if you think about this from an evolutionary perspective, when we were in hunter-gatherer groups, it was literally a matter of survival, how much we fit in with the group. If we were ostracized and kicked out, that meant certain death. So our brain is always scanning to make sure that we are gonna fit in, that people like us. So we prioritize a lot of brain energy in this area that really is making us feel self-conscious and worried about whether or not we're enough. And the truth is, since everybody's thinking that same way, we're all self-obsessed, we're all narcissistic, we're all worrying about ourselves, we also don't have the capacity to be worrying about you. So the more we can remind ourselves that people are probably not thinking about us, the better. But the second element that's really important has to do with what's called your reticular activating system, or RAS for short. Now, this is like super nerdy, super geeky, so I'm really gonna simplify it. So for all you neuroscience nerds, just, give me some grace here. But basically, you have what's called your reticular formation. It's right at the base of your brain, the part that helps you breathe, helps you sleep. There's a bundle of neurons that basically operates as a filtering system. Our brains are taking in so much information. There is no way consciously we could process all of it. So your reticular activating system, it's like an upside down funnel. It is taking in all this information and saying, not this, not this, not this, not this, and allowing certain bits to come up to your awareness. It connects your subconscious to your conscious. This is the same part of your brain when you get a silver Prius, that all of a sudden you see silver Priuses everywhere. You know consciously that the manufacturer just didn't spontaneously make a bazillion more Priuses, but because you've told your RAS that it's important, it's now letting it up through the filter to your conscious brain and you're seeing more of it. There's this famous psychological study that is so much fun that really probably demonstrates this perfectly. The participants were told only to watch the team in white and count how many times they passed the ball. 50% of participants missed this happening right in the middle. Because you saw the gorilla, it's really hard to imagine not seeing it. But this is how much our brains filter out information. When you set this kind of focus and attention, your brain will filter in more of that information. This is both a good and bad thing. When you're focusing on the imposter software, your brain is going to let through the filter more instances, more examples, more information about ways that you don't belong, that you're inferior, that people are going to make fun of you. Conversely, if you give that system a new directive, different things will start to show up. And I'm going to show you how. We're getting up there in video length, so I'm going to break it into 2 parts. So check out the second part where I go into the tools you can use to wrangle that imposter software.